We're back with Stephen Kellogg, and the new album is To You, Old Friend. And I want to talk about what really feels like uh, for any relatively smaller name singer-songwriter, sort of the dream. You're singing one of your originals. You're backed by your daughters and the Counting Crows. Uh, how how did that moment on stage feel?
That that was definitely one of the greatest moments of my career so far. You know, um, a lot of times big professional moments don't live up to the hype of how you want them to feel or how they're supposed to feel, because often it can feel too intense and you can't take it in. So I frequently end up enjoying things more after the fact when I'm relaxed in my house, with a glass of wine and remembering something. That can be more fun than the actual moment something's happening. This, on the other hand, is one of the rare instances where, I've now done this song a few times with them, maybe six or seven, maybe a few more. And and the one that we recorded was in the middle of those, and it's one of my all-time favorite bands. It's with two of my all-time favorite people, my daughters Sophia and Adeline, and I definitely wasn't lost, and I was like, this is heaven on earth right here, to get to do this.
Yeah, I mean, just the way that the song sounded, like, with Adam's voice and whatnot, like, yeah, that there's no reason that that couldn't be a Counting Crows song, I don't know. It sort of strikes me how some acts who do a relatively, I mean, there are acts who went mainstream who really never went mainstream. And, other than
Hmm.
accidentally in
Hmm.
love, I don't think Counting Crows ever necessarily uh, did something that landed themselves squarely in the range of mainstream, and yet they're
Yeah,
quite a big name. Like, I
yeah.
mean, how lucky is that? How much is that the way you want to do it?
Well, I kind of think it's the way you got to do it. It's like every time I ever tried in this business to like I don't know, to manipulate the system or do something that was like not the most authentic version of myself. You try things because you're trying to be a team player, and sometimes, especially at one point in my career, you've got people investing a bit of money into you, so you feel some obligation to them as almost shareholders in your art. And then the reality is, that stuff never felt true. And I think once in a while, somebody has like a hit that is not really who they are, and I think it's pretty difficult for them. I mean, a hit is a miracle, but it's also like when that happens and you're not being an authentic version of yourself, you're sort of saddled then with this like pretending to be something that you're not. Now, when I tried it, it just didn't really work. But I had lots of moments in my career where I did something that I felt I could totally stand behind and back, and it didn't necessarily, you know, make me rich or famous or any of those things. And so you have to do your thing. And so for me in my own career was that I always felt, yeah, these guys are just this is who they would be, whether they sold 10 million records or 10 records. Like this is who this band needs to be. The benefit of selling 10 million records, or 30 million records, whatever. The benefit of that is it's glue. It's glue. It keeps it's a mandate to keep your band together. It gives you an excuse to keep it going. And I think there are a lot of groups that would play music together if if there were a fun if there was enough to keep them glued together. Um, and that's the benefit of reaching a wide audience. So, um, and what was special in particular about Almost Woke You Up and putting this song out was I didn't, I don't know. Adam heard me play this song at one of my shows. I think he maybe complimented it, but didn't say more. And then one night, when I was opening for these guys, I heard him singing it up in his dressing room, and he said, "Hey, Steven, do you think would you guys want to do this during our set?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so then he had the whole band learn it, and then we started doing it on tour, and then the last time I did this song, we did it at Ocean's Calling in front of 45,000 people, which is also the biggest crowd I've ever played to. Um, Not that that's a big deal, the crowd size, but it's still to share that with these people was super special.
Yeah, doesn't sound like a bad experience at all.
No. What you should know, though, Trevor, is that not the one that's recorded, but the 45,000 person one, hilariously, we walked out and they pointed me over to be on the right of Adam instead of the left. And they had prepared the monitors that point it back at you so you can hear yourself were on the left of him. But when I got out there, the crew was like, no, 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 go on out, go on the right. So I went on the right, but there was no speakers pointing back at me, so I couldn't even hear anything. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm not going to let that ruin anything. I've sung this song a million times. It's in my blood. I know how to sing it. So I mean, I really couldn't hear anything while it was going on. I was hearing very little of the sound. And Not the one we recorded again, but the biggest crowd we ever did it to. I was like basically up there hearing no sound, but also experiencing this incredible weighty moment.
I hope it turned out all right.
It did. It did. It did. That one wasn't my favorite sonic version of it, but we already had recorded it, and it was, still again, just like, wow, this is floating, man. This is like, you can feel it. You don't even need to hear it. It was almost like Jedi stuff.
Yeah. How do you wind up playing 45,000 people? Adam came and found you at a show, or?
No, I mean that one was just we had done this song before, and we were both playing a festival called Ocean's Calling down in Maryland, and we were on the same stage, but my set was earlier in the day, and I played, and then he said, "Hey, let's do Almost Woke You Up tonight," because we had done it before at that point. I had been on tour with Counting Crows in 2022, um, and so he said, "Let's do that tonight," and I grabbed Adeline and Sophia, my daughters, and I was like, "We're gonna do it tonight." But there's no sound check for something like that. So you're just, they had finished playing Long December and then called me out. And then after that song, they did like Hanging Around. You're sort of sandwiched between two legendary songs. It was bananas. Very cool.
Well, it does sound nice. Stephen, thanks so much for talking to me about all this today.
Yeah, Trevor. Thanks for, it was a super fun conversation, man.